welcome to the Nen Show Podcast. The journey never ends. I am your host, Craftsdwarf, and this is my co-host, Mathwiz, here yet again.
We are drowning in One Piece because it's a city of water. Water 7. That wasn't a funny joke.
Yeah, almost. Well, we got another arc first, but we'll get there eventually. Firstly, comments. I have a comment. So, do you want to go first?
Okay, let's start with the fan favorite, the one now, the artist now going by Plot Made Sasuke Not Copy 1,000 Jutsu Like Kakashi. In this giant comment, I'm sure there's more, but I haven't actually read the whole thing. I just see this one part at the bottom, asking, yeah, that's directed at me, asking if I still place Nami above Rukia, because I guess, you know, the hype around her character has died down since then, as we kind of talked about in the last part. And the answer is yes. I still say Nami is better than Rukia. So,
that's fair.
There's that.
And she did just get a bunch of neat exploration this last arc, so it's like, it's fine. Yeah, it's good.
But for a little more substantial comment, there's one by Gone Yesterday, which I did think was interesting. I kind of thought about it a little bit myself, but not quite to this depth. It was in regards to how Oda presented like the issue of God and religion in Skypiea. And this comment basically talks about how, like, at the very end, there's the part where the people have, like, there's nothing really they can do, so they end up, like, praying that something's gonna save them. But then there's also, that's sort of represented by, like, Luffy, you know, taking out the final villain and, you know, ringing the bell and whatnot. So you could kind of read it like Oda doesn't dismiss, like, the potential positives of religion, because it's easy to just say, oh, you know, religion has caused all these bad things and so it's worthless or whatever. But here he kind of acknowledges that, like, depending on, like, what your belief system is, you could read the ending in a different way. So, like, if you're not a religious person, you see Luffy finishing the job and you say, oh, well, there's no divine intervention here, it's just Luffy. But if you are a more religious person, you could read it as Luffy is there as a result of, like, some sort of divine intervention. And I think it's just interesting that,
yeah, you can read, like, you could read a lot of, like, causality and just things happening as, you know, divine will. And even Luffy even has a will pushing him, you know, whether it's a godly will or not, is the question. But probably not, considering Luffy he's if anything, he's the anti-god. Well, this also factors into my comment that I had by Annie again, 45612 talking about sort of like how sound is used. Like, specifically that there was one observation I liked where Eneru, he's God, he hears everything, but he doesn't listen. Whereas Luffy doesn't hear everything, but he does listen. He listens to the people, and, you know, actually, and he counters God. And honestly, I thought about it, and it actually goes further into the series. Like, hearing all things is a thing. So, it's Skypiea, it doesn't matter. That's not true. There was still some more conversation about breath and mantra, and it's like, I still have not heard a good point as to how they're the same ability. So, because they aren't, damn it. Also, I guess on the note of faith, I only just remembered this now, so I don't have a name, unfortunately. But someone pointed out that Bellamy isn't faithlessness, and I think that's true. It's like I think I was putting at faithlessness because I saw Jaya and Skypiea as, like, two parts of the conversation, but, like, it's more that Bellamy, it's not so much that he's faithless, it's that he comes to an easy answer and he puts all his faith in that idea. Like, he didn't give up, basically. Like, he's just like, oh yeah, this is it. And then he doesn't doubt himself, because that's really what it is. There's sort of these absolutes, and the middle ground is just doubting. And, you know, not that everything doubted is a problem, just that to doubt it is to challenge it. And then whether it survives or not, you know, that's whether it's worthy of, you know, still being held as a tradition or an idea, or if it should be, you know, discarded, like a lot of the Shandian stuff, the Nolan flashback. Because I talked about how last time how they defended the bell. That was a good tradition, you know. It helped, or it will help eventually. You know, what was it? Roger's line. This document has been guided to the end, or something like that. So it's like, yeah, we don't know the ramifications, but because and going back to the faith thing, it's like it's challenged, but I don't think it's dismissed outright, so there is some sort of, like I said, causality to it. So yeah, that was my comments. Did you have any more? Or were you done with that one? Just before I interrupted and went on a tangent.
No, yeah, I was done with that. Or, yeah, I was basically done with that one. I feel like somewhere in the SBS, unless maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, I feel like Oda said he was an atheist somewhere, like in regards to a question
don't remember. Like, I honestly kind of skipped the SBSs just because I have read them so many times. Like, if you bring the one up, I would know. But that one, maybe I missed it, or maybe you're misremembering. So I don't know. That's a good question.
But anyways, the reason why I bring that up, if it is, if I am remembering properly, I think that makes it all the better that he's still willing to, like, not totally throw it away.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I think that's part of why I connect to that idea, especially of, like, just doubting tradition, because, like, I think I mentioned this last time, but I personally feel like, a lot of traditions had a reason for existing, but the question is if they still need to exist today, and thus the doubt aspect of it. So that's just how I feel. Like, and if some of those traditions happen to have been religious, then fine, sure, why not? But as long as it's a fine tradition to still have, and it's not harmful, like human sacrifice, that's one that needed to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess for context, for me discussing this, I would also probably classify myself as an atheist, just for the record. So if anyone...
Yeah, my parents are... honestly, my parents are kind of, like, anti-religious. Like, they don't really think of it too highly. But they didn't raise me to color me that. They just raised me without, like, any religious context at all. Anti or pro. And so I'm sort of neutral on it. Like, I do... like, religion as an institution, like, again, it needs some recontextualization, but, like, not everyone can just accept that the endlessness of the universe and the meaninglessness of life. Not that I believe that, but it's some people need an idea to keep going, that, like, some afterlife, if they need that, that's fine, as long as, again, it doesn't harm this world, the world that matters. So, anyway, we're going way off topic, unless you wanted to add your own thoughts.
No, that basically was it for that comment. Okay. There was another comment by Greenbird asking about our thoughts on how Oda handles villains in the series. Like, in regards to how I don't think any villain has died so far, and, like, they keep coming back. Or not that they all keep coming back, but, like, you'll see some of them appearing in the chapter covers, or they'll go off and kind of...
I think... And there was an old SBS where he mentioned, like, how, because, specifically mentioned why, I think it was, but Luffy doesn't kill his enemy, because having their dreams destroyed is worse than death. Like, and I think, that's a recurring thing. Like, I am considering doing a video on how One Piece handles character death, because, again, it's a pretty, a subject that's discussed a lot, especially with shit like Skypiea with no one dying. But, between, like, dreams and freedom and Hirluck's line about being forgotten, like, the Oda seems to have the idea that there are things worse than death. So, like, characters not dying isn't that bad, because in his, at least as he presents it in the story, there's worse things, So, I guess that's what's relevant to that topic. But at the same time, there's also, like, clear emotional manipulation there that needs to be accounted for, so, yeah. I don't know, I've had conversations with people on my server about it, so we'll see what the video says. Anyway, go on.
There was a response to this comment by Archer Enix, which basically said that some of these, like, Oda kind of does a bit of variation with how he will use the villains, like, if he brings them back. How, for example, Buggy or Wapol will kind of show up in the cover stories, and they'll kind of come back to prominence. They interpreted that as Oda sort of showing that not all bad guys get punished for their deeds, to quote the comment directly.
With Wapol, it's in particular interesting because he's like, he starts the shitty king, then he goes, like, downhill, but then he comes back up and now he's the shitty CEO. So it's like, character development. Wait, no, never mind. No, so yeah, it's, But the other thing is, because they come up with the cover stories, you can also assume that their story isn't over yet. So, but for some antagonists, the story has been pretty much over. We've seen Django again, but not Kuro. and I'll spoil it. Even with like the 600 chapters we haven't read, there's no Kuro, still. So, yeah. And I guess in general, like, yeah, I like how the villains come back, and it's cool. It's always cool.
And I do have one more comment here by Heoder, Heoder, about the survival game. In relation to how Oda tends to not kill characters, and how, well, this comment basically says that the best way to kind of work around that is, if you're not going to kill characters, don't present scenarios that seem to sort of imply that somebody will be dying, which I kind of think makes sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I'm trying to remember, like, because the winners got to go with Eneru to leave the island he was going to destroy. So and then, like, the whole voices thing, like, I know no one's going to die, so I always just, like, rationalized it as outside of, like, because that's the thing, it's not like there's only death. It's like, if characters' voice is gone, they're obviously just unconscious. Like, Eneru was planning to destroy the whole island, so even if they didn't die during the game, they would, by Eneru's plan, they would have died afterwards when he destroyed Skypiea, and in theory. So it's not like, so I definitely understand, like, the issue, but at the same time, it's not, I don't know, I have to double check some things and see if, like, how many characters said, oh yeah, everyone's literally going to die, like, but especially if it's coming from Eneru, like, he's not the authority on everyone else dying or not. And again, they specifically mentioned, like, voices vanishing, not, like, people dying, so,
I feel like I had more to say in response to this comment, but now I've forgotten what it is. So I guess that's it from me.
Stole your thunder, and so sorry. That was your last comment?
Yep, that's the last one.
Okay. Alright. Let us finally get into the discussion. So, starting off, this is one of those awkward chapters where it's like ending the last arc, but also starting the new one, so I didn't want to read it. Sort of like last time with Skypiea, where it's like we could have done the chapter with Robin fully joining the crew, but it ends with the ship falling out of the sky, so it ends Alabasta, but it starts Jaya, and this one ends Skypiea, and it starts Davy back fight. So yep, Cricket, Mont Blanc Cricket, he's ready. They're like, they solved the mystery, but they're there's always things to explore and discover, so they're gonna go after more adventures. That's cool. And then we see Bellamy, and a connection is made between this old antagonist and a warlord of the sea.
Doflamingo, there's my boy. He's here, but he's still not really here, because this doesn't even. This is one of those characters who's getting that build up, like a Pain, or I don't know, Bleach. I don't think really had a character that got built up like that, but
not
one of these characters.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time Doflamingo appeared? It was before Skypiea. So
right, it was like right towards the end of Jaya when he was first introduced. So this is his second appearance. Except now we know who. So yep, he's cleaning up the trash and to prepare for his new age, which is we don't know the details, but an age where only real pirates will survive. So, did you have any thoughts on this aside from the build-up, or?
I do like that Bellamy is connected to Doflamingo in this way. I like how it's not like using a previous antagonist to build up a new antagonist isn't anything new. But I do like how they are. Yeah. Like, I do like how they are also sort of connected ideologically, because they both talk about this new age of pirates. Because obviously Bellamy is a crewmate of.
Right, so it's like not only is Bellamy being like pushed down to build up Doflamingo like strength wise, but also like you can imagine his ideals were influenced by Doflamingo. So like this idea of like what a pirate is, maybe they'll come in when Doflamingo becomes important to the story. So. Whenever that happens, it's One Piece, and things being long and taking a while to pay off is normal. So yeah, it's cool. So yeah, if we had nothing else to say on that, the ship lands. The Mary has a rather hard impact into the ocean that will never ever come up again.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that.
I thought they mentioned it, but maybe not. But it's like, oh no! Like you even see, there's like even one big panel where it's just like you see the keel, and I'm just like, no, Mary, no.
I didn't even make the connection there. Wow.
Right, because they even talk about how it was like a hard landing. Like maybe the octopus sprung a leak. Like there was a mistake somewhere. So it's like, oh no, oh man. Because
yeah, I guess
so
that would
like,
explain why everything is why it all happens now. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's actually really good. I didn't notice that.
Yep. And it really puts in the, like, I love how, like, Kaku and Iceberg are like, I don't even know how this ship made it here. Like, that's pretty fucking impressive, considering the state it was in. And, cause yeah, cause like, that's the thing, it sailed for like a week after this impact. Cause I think they made it to the Longland this day. And then they were like resting for like 3 days and sailing for another 4 or vice versa, after that whole arc, which we'll talk about. So it's like, yeah, the Mary survived for quite a while after that impact. They even like bring up that as a discussion, because they're like, the waiver still works on the water. Most of the dials work except for a couple. And then, of course, they talk about the money, and they want to, they talk about fixing up the Mary. So yeah. Everything. So, yeah, Oda every little thing. Oda planned everything.
Yeah, so there's even more reason to, even more importance for Skypiea, because if Skypiea didn't happen, they wouldn't have fallen from the sky, and if they didn't fall from the sky, they wouldn't have had the impact, and
and that leads to a lot of important shit for just the stretch of chapters.
A lot of important shit.
Let alone, like, the rest of the arc you haven't even read yet, so...
I will just say, at the start of our discussion here, I understand why you might, like, even just by the first third or whatever we have done, I can understand why this would possibly be, like, your favorite arc in the what'd you say? This was, like, your favorite saga in the story so far?
Yes. This, Davy Backfight is really fun, and I'll definitely want to talk about it. Water 7 and Enies Lobby in particular are considered, like, they're, like, Skypiea and Jaya. They're two parts of the same whole. And that's thus far is, like, has been in the past has definitely been my favorite. I don't know. Hopefully it stays that way. We'll see. And it does contain probably my favorite moment in fiction, which I'll get to talk about at one point. So it's like, yeah, it's cool. So anyway, did we have anything else to say on that setup for their future? Their current small goal of fixing the Mary and getting a carpenter.
I will say I am sort of interested that this is the first arc in a while that we've had the characters going in looking for a new crew member. Right. I think the last one was Chopper. And that was
that was before Alabasta, where they accidentally got Robin onto the crew, and then Skypiea had no new members. So it has been and those were both 2 big arcs. So yeah, it has been quite a while, like probably like almost 150 chapters, like 130 or so. Yeah, since they were like deliberately looking for a crew member. So yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
I'm also interested in whether or not I feel like they'll probably find a carpenter by the end of this arc. Don't tell me. But I'm also interested in how this arc, like, it starts off with them looking for a crew member, but then by the end of what we've read, they're, like, losing people. And so that's an interesting twist.
Yes, and we'll definitely talk about that, because I'm also going to link a Reddit post with spoilers on it regarding... It's actually funny how it came about, because someone was asking, like, why is Davy Backfight important? And I did a quick explanation, and someone took my explanation and asked about that on Reddit, because I guess I'm not good at answering my own question, or elaborating on my own points. And someone else actually had some really good observations, some of which I'll talk about. But there are other spoilers on that in that thread. Like, I saw some comments talking about, like, much later manga stuff, so be warned. But I will link it, because it's, like, one of the few good pieces of One Piece analysis that isn't written by me, because I think someone, like, some people in my Discord have been saying is that apparently, like, a lot of the One Piece discussion is surrounds theories, and so there isn't a lot of good analysis, because all the people who are into that stuff are doing theories instead and trying to predict what's going to happen next. And One Piece lends itself pretty well to that, because of how, it's just like, just there's so much build up and stuff, and so many wild twists at times that I guess something about it lends itself well to theories.
And
so
by being 900 chapters long, so that like even all these years later, it's still ongoing. So there's never really a point. Like when Naruto and Bleach ended, there's kind of a point where you stop the theory crafting because the story's over.
Right, because it's exactly.
But you can't do that with One Piece because it's not over, and it appears to be
and
showing
it's also
no signs
because
of being
like there's
over.
like. I meme about their every little thing. Like, we haven't even gotten to stuff where it's like, hey, remember that thing from 500 chapters ago? Like, we haven't even got, because we're not even past chapter 500. So it's like, there's still like all those little things that I think, just the fact that he's able to call back on so much stuff, it, incites the imaginations of these theory crafters. So it's like, I personally don't care for theories. Like, someone predicted that thing. Neat. Like, if they, but for every prediction they make, there's 10 they did also made that failed. So it's like, whatever. And, I'm not gonna, like, shit on theory crafters. They can do what they want. I'm just not personally interested in it. I'm more interested in what the story is. Like, I don't want the story to, like, I don't want to make a prediction and be so invested in it that when the story doesn't go through with it, I feel disappointed. I just want to accept the story as it is. So that's, but unfortunately that means there's not a lot of One Piece analysis there, except for this post that I'm going to link, and Mr. Moorish, who I've mentioned a million times, who I have nothing specific to say on this time, but he exists, and he hasn't done a video in a while. Very sad. I haven't done a video in a while. Shit.
I haven't done a video in a while.
Oh no. Anyway, getting back to discussion. So, we get something that gets paid off sooner rather than later, where the elders are talking about missing Marine Admiral, Admiral Aokiji, who he's just biking on the ocean, almost ran over a dolphin. He's like, whoops, sorry. So yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, now getting on, starting on the long land arc, aka Davy back fight. They're doing some more seafaring. They see a crew that's just been wrecked, and as we find out, because of the Davy back fight. I like how it starts because there's just like the monkeys doing their stupid face, and then Luffy's doing the same stupid face but nervously.
Yeah, and then it cuts to the big giant wave. It's again, good comedic timing, good framing by Oda.
I'll be honest, like, for something about Davy back fight, like, I feel like, because there's like, I feel like there's so many more gags than usual, and a lot of them hit for me. Like, I'm still laughing at this stuff. I don't know what it is about this arc, but it's like, would you say it's goofier than normal? Or is it just normal? Like, is it just normal One Piece to you? Because to me, it feels like there's just so many gags, and the frequency of gags is just at a level higher. Like, and throughout the whole arc too. That's the thing. It's like normally like Alabasta and Skype, like they get serious after a time, but here it does like at the very very end of the fight though, the last fight. So I don't know. How did you feel about it?
I think at least in this. Wait, when you say arc, you just talking about like the Davy back fight, like not because it's
well,
weird.
there's both Aokiji and the end of the Foxy fight that are fairly serious, but other than that, it's like almost straight gags. And I guess
are you talking like before
working
they get to Water 7, the city?
Yes, I'm talking about the Davy back fight arc.
That makes a little more sense. I probably would agree. I think. Maybe that's...
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I see it, like, I compare it to, like, say, the QB taming. Like, this is the arc I was thinking of back when we were talking about that. It's a bit of levity in between, like, Skypiea and its survival death game and destruction of islands, and Water 7 and its fracturing of the crew and whatnot. So it's like this is that sort of levity between the quote unquote darker stuff. So
yeah, that's kind of what I picked up on, like, after the fact, because like as I was reading this stretch, this was probably like the least interested I have been in One Piece in a while, just reading the Davy back fight.
Okay.
But I also recognize it as, seeing what came after the Davy back fight and what came before with Skypiea, it makes sense to have this period where it's just kind of, lighten the mood a bit, because we did just come from everything you just said, basically.
Right. Okay, because I'm interested in what you have to say on it, because I was definitely, I always enjoy Davy back fight, it's fun. But anyway, we'll talk about that later, because first they make landing. they find out that everything on the island is long. In fact, it is so long that it makes everyone's faces long out of sheer surprise. I don't know, just... And then they meet old man Tonchitz on the bamboo stilts. Oh god, so dumb. How is this man alive? He was on stilts for 10 years. It's so stupid. One Piece is great. I also love the gag with the milk / cheese. And he's just like, hey, you guys want some milk? Hey, you guys want some cheese?
Yeah.
Like, oh man. And yeah, we get a bit of an explanation of his situation. The horse gets shot. I don't have much else to say. Like I guess I understand why you say it's not as interesting, because it's it's definitely a bit of like going through the motions, almost. But again, it is just a bit more goofy than usual. So, though I guess one thing I noticed about this sort of initial encounter between Luffy and Foxy, because like Foxy basically manipulates Luffy into playing the game. You know, like, because Luffy was pissed, and he's Luffy, he's emotional. And, like, that's sort of setting up for their fight, because, like, as far as, like, mental games, mind games and tricks, like, Luffy's creative and stuff, but he's pretty easily manipulated. And so Foxy just kind of, like, that's why the game starts, because Foxy just toys with him in that regard. So it's like, Foxy's also a dumbass, but he's also a crafty dumbass, so he's kind of, like, I guess to sort of, like, talk about what I'll save it for the fight. But yeah, because I noticed that. So did you have anything to say about the start of the game? Or...
I feel like I just had a train of thought. Now I don't remember what it was.
Damn it, I ruined it. Probably.
I guess maybe my opinion on this little stretch of chapters is kind of swayed by I don't quite know what it's all in service to yet. Like, I can't tell... it feels more disconnected by what happened so far afterwards than what the... like, some of the setup for other arcs later.
There's definitely a thematic connection between this and what we've read of Water 7. And, well, because think of it this way. Davy Backfight is a game that is threatening to split up the Straw Hats from outside, but they refuse to be split up from outside forces. It's only from inside do they split up, basically. And that's basically what happens later. Like, Usopp leaves the crew of his own volition, Robin leaves the crew of her own volition, but an outside force won't split them up, like, because Luffy rejects that, as he talked about during the fight. So that's kind of where it, like, builds into Water 7 in that idea. And the Aokiji stuff also builds into Water 7 through a different idea, so, but that obviously you haven't seen the payoff for. And that's also continuing the idea I've talked about with Crocodile, like, because, well, I only realized it reading this stretch, but it's like, because I talked about how, like, Luffy takes things seriously, but then he doesn't, like, he was goofing off against Satori, and, like, the way I see it is that, like, before Crocodile, he only ever got serious when he was angry, but Crocodile, like, finally, sort of made, gave him the ability to be serious at times, but he needs to be made to be serious. So it's like, it's a small change. I only am able now to put it into words. So it's like, and you kind of see that at the end of Foxy. He's finally getting serious against this goofy foe, but he wasn't at first. So it's like, basically, if he recognizes his opponent as strong, he will get serious, but otherwise he's still gonna goof off. As opposed to Crocodile, where he was always goofing off. He tried to eat him. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess as a conflict, it's nice that it's, a break from the fighting. Like, it's still kind of action-y,
the games get set up.
Related.
We have the race
challenges here, but it's nice that it's a little something different.
And the final battle. Did you have anything to say about the race? Because I don't think I have anything to say other than it was like neat to see the crew and all the teamwork and like all the different ways they were trying to figure out how to get speed and use it, and all the fucking it's like. Yeah, it's more akin to, like, how, like, the Chunin exams or the Hunter exams have different, like, things instead of just fighting, So it's not a straight-up tournament, but it's still, it's a race. And we see how the author's powers, transfer into that. So it's cool. How the author's powers, what did I say? Like, the powers of the series and how the author transforms that for the race instead of the battle and everyone's skills and stuff. And of course the usual gags, like, the fake, like, well, I love how, like, Nami is just, like, again, she's the doubter, and she's also tricky herself, so she doesn't fall for any of Foxy's bullshit, And then, well, I guess one from overall is I love how she has like a banter with the announcer. Like, the announcer talks about how brutal she is, and she's just like, "Shut up!" Like, that was just always fun. Yeah, it's fun. I don't think I have much else. Like, it's also just sort of building up, like, it's showing off more of Foxy's trickiness, and we do end up getting introduced to his powers, which are pretty unlike everything other Paramecias we've seen. Like, I think in the SBS even talks about how there's, like, Paramecias are kind of the other category. So, and he shoots beams off of his body, so it's different. Did you have any more thoughts?
No, the race just kind of happens. I don't, like I said, I wasn't super interested in this opening part. Maybe it's also because this one kind of ties itself together. So, like, it's almost like a little conflict before the conflict begins, whereas with something like Jaya, I could tell it was going into Skypiea because it was, Skypiea was frequently mentioned.
Yeah. Yes, Davy backfight, like, I'm not sure, like, with Jaya, it's pretty good. In Jaya and Water 7, they pretty clearly go into the next arcs, but with Davy backfights, it is a bit more disconnected, even though it also is connected. But, yeah, if you didn't notice, then that's
understandable. And also, I think, but the other thing, I guess the flip side of that I've been trying to keep in mind is we just had Doflamingo and Bellamy get tied together, and I feel like that, like, there's a takeaway from that, and I feel like that in some way would connect, like, not that Doflamingo or Bellamy connect to this little conflict, but I feel like that would connect in that this conflict is related to something later, that there's like a reason, or there's a reason why this is here.
Yeah, you've gotten used to Oda's style, like he's always drawing, there's nothing is in isolation, you could say, and I think that's true. Like, I was even talking about the comment about sound in Skypiea and the bell and stuff. It's like that connects to the sound can be heard throughout the whole series. So, yeah. I had a better discussion on my Discord, so I'm trying to remember it, but I can't. So,
like, I guess for a bit of speculation on my part at this point, I'm not quite sure what, or maybe it's a bunch of things that are being set up here, like the mechanics of the Davy back thing. Like, I feel like that could maybe come up later, but I don't know if it does. Or, the characters that get introduced here.
I can say...
I forget his name already, but the little antagonist guy.
Foxy?
No, not
Aokiji?
well, yeah, Aokiji is obviously important. But the Devil Fruit guy, Foxy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Foxy.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe he comes back later. I don't know. I don't know
Maybe.
Which will be relevant later and which won't, or if any of it won't and it all will be. I don't know.
Right. So, and we are getting closer, like, we're still, 600 chapters away from where the manga is currently at this point in the reading. From what we've read up to, then we're a little less than 600 chapters away. But, like, so the further we go, the less and less there's going to be stuff that has come up again. So the more and more I'm going to be able to say, like, oh yeah, like Kuro, he hasn't shown up again. So I can say whether or not. But at the same time, the story's not over, so we don't know whether it will or not. Like, I love the idea of Luffy doing a Davy backfight with one of the strongest crews in the world. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but I would love to see that, just because I love the idea of, like imagine Luffy doing a Davy backfight with Whitebeard or something. I don't know, that would be wild, just because of the goofiness of it, it's just, oh dear, or maybe it would be super serious, and that would be interesting in its own right, but, yeah, so anyway, Foxy wins, he gets Chopper, Chopper cries about it, and Zoro says, stop, and he says the magic words, and he's like, if you're a man, then act like one, and Chopper mans the fuck, because he wants to be a man, and so he mans the fuck up. He's so cute. So, any more thoughts, or shall we move on to the Groggy fight, or the Groggy ring?
Yeah, we've taken Chopper out of the equation, so now it's just Zoro and Sanji, and you know that's gonna go well.
The two who are literally the worst at teamwork.
What was it? Whoever made this lineup, or was it Robin? I don't know. Like, she was the one talking about it, but, like, they made this lineup intentionally putting Zoro and Sanji together. I mean, I guess if it was Robin, she might not really, like, understand the crew, the inner workings of the crews, but, like, this is such a dumb move. Why would you do this?
True. Because, yeah, so, I mean, think about it, like, when in Jaya and Skypiea did they really show off their rivalry? Like, Robin might not have had a chance to really see it, because they were split up through most of Skypiea, and so, yeah, if Robin was the one who came up with it, then, yeah, she didn't know. Because obviously the others would have known from, like, Little Garden and Arlong, where they're just getting into all these fights and arguments, and then now they know. Now everyone knows after Groggy Ring. Though I guess one thing I noticed is regarding this arc is that, like, there's a bit there is an aspect of, like, unity to it, because the Straw Hats, they're like, well, unity and capability. Because the Straw Hats are way more capable, but they're also less capable of being unified. Zoro, the Groggy Ring was a great example, because, like, once Zoro and Sanji, like, work together, they fucking destroy, and it's fucking hype as shit. But until then, they're just getting wrecked. And even during the race, it's like, Foxy was interference was allowed. Foxy was working with his, Porsche, or I don't know how to pronounce it, and while the Straw Hats were distracted, so they weren't truly unified. And during the last fight, what happens at the end? The Straw Hats get Foxy's men cheer, like, even they cheer for Luffy because he's getting up and not falling down, and then at the end everyone takes part in the countdown, so the unity is removed as Foxy is defeated. So, and that was a thing that I noticed. But yeah, any other thoughts on the Groggy Ring battle with the Big Bun, Hamburg, and Pickles? Oh yeah, I guess Big Bun is unusual, like, setting-wise, as we have not up to this point seen, like, a half-breed, because he's half Mudfish Man and half giant, which is something. Pickles is just a big human. He's not any part giant, because humans can see. This is really the point where the character designs are starting to go, like, get even more exaggerated. I think, like, this arc and the next arc, like, because Skypiea, like, who are the weirdest character designs? Like, Satori, I guess, was kind of fat. But everyone else, like all the other Skylanders, like, they had their weird fashions and stuff, but they still looked pretty human, like, proportionally and stuff. But, like, look at Pickles. Like, look at this guy. He's like, he keeps skipping leg day. His legs are tiny. Everyone in One Piece skips leg day. So, like, he's going wild with the proportions. And things are getting, the characters are getting weirder, which I think is fair, because, like, I think I mentioned this before, but it's like, we're deeper into the grand line. Like, the people are matching, the characters in the setting are matching the weirdness of the setting, because the islands are weird, so it makes sense the people on them are weird. So, yeah. But I feel like this is where it's really starting, because, yep. Did you have any other thoughts on the Groggy Ring? Like, the battle?
I don't think I had much of, like, a thematic or any. I don't really think I had many takeaways from this, other than just, like. Did
you at least think it was cool? Please say it was cool.
It had its moments. I don't know. I just wasn't super into it, I guess.
Okay, because, like, again, I'm just like I like the gags, like, of the start where they're, like, fighting, like, they start, like, well, I like how it's framed where, like, they're fighting, and it's portrayed with, like, them really far away, so they look like it's small, and, like, they're just having this small conflict, and something about it's funny, just the fact that, because they have to be drawn more simply because they're further away, but so they're like intensely bad, they're like doing these tiny little fights, and just, I don't know, and when they get serious and they just fucking destroy the opposition, it's cool and hype. So, I don't know. It's a fun read. Like, I think, yeah, it was back when I reread this arc in 2015, and I was, like, laughing even harder than I did, like, pretty hard. Like, wouldn't say I laughed really hard this reread, but I was, actually laughing out loud. But, like, this is when I realized, like that when I was doing that reread, that reread specifically, like, I was connecting more with One Piece than I had, because I had never binged so much of it. But, like, I don't know, I just really like Davy Backfight. It's great. It's fun. I like it. This arc's kind of disliked, so your feelings don't surprise me. Because, again, it's like, what does it matter? It's not important. It's just filler.
No, again, like, if with me, like, maybe I'll appreciate it more on, like, a second read through, because I'll understand what it's trying to do. And at this point, like, even then, I can still appreciate what it's doing tone-wise, because you need that balance. You need to break up the like I always talked about with Bleach, that it was always just fight, 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 and I would get bored, and I'd get tired of the same repetition. So, like, even if there was depth to the fights, like, there were ideas
so this
Kubo
is, like,
was trying
you
to
have an arc
explore, it
that's...
was just the same execution over and over, and I got tired of it. So, even then, like, I may not have liked this a whole lot, but I still appreciate it that it's there.
Right, it's a different structure, like, you know, it's like, they're not just like, here, let's do the one-on-one fights. No, they're doing these games and stuff, and there's different, you know, mind things that, like, I like how after they finish this game and they talk about what crew member they get to take, and they're like, hey, if we take Foxy, we win twice, but then they decide not to because, oh, then we have to have Foxy in our crew, never mind.
I do like the recurring character trait / gag where he just gets depressed.
That's, okay, I think possibly my favorite gag in One Piece, because it's the one I always think of. Like, there's other great ones and some we haven't seen yet, but it's like during the Luffy fight, he does the silhouette thing where he's got the smoke screen, he's got all like the pop-up foxes for his silhouette, and Luffy's just like, yes, because Luffy's just like, that stupid split head, and Foxy gets depressed. So it, like, builds up the recurring running joke, but then uses it in the fight, and Luffy punches him. I love that one. That one in particular gets me every fucking time. And whenever I think about, like, One Piece and humor, that one always comes to mind first. So, yeah, I love it. Oh, man.
I guess in this little game, I do kind of like the part where Sanji goes off and he's like arguing with the ref or whatever while Zoro's getting chased by the big guy, and then he just jumps right back into where he was before. Like, he just goes back to running with Zoro, and it's like, why?
They're so stupid. I love them. Oh, God. Any other comments while you're flipping through, or...
No, because I guess up next is the fight with Luffy.
Yep, Luffy versus Foxy. And, I guess the one thing... Well, this is kind of what I brought up in my first One Piece video, where, like, the way I see it is, like, so, you know, you have Crocodile. He's the one who pushes Luffy to his limits. So, you know, you think, oh, maybe next arc, Luffy's gonna surpass his limits. But no, instead he fights someone who's way stronger, but Luffy has the advantage against. And Foxy's the reverse. Luffy's way stronger than Foxy, but Foxy is Luffy's natural enemy, like Luffy was Eneru's natural enemy. So that's what's kind of amazing about this, and like why I really like how One Piece handles its power curve, because like, look at Luffy at the end of the fight. Like, he's been knocked down a bunch of times from Foxy's explosive gloves. He's covered in like bruises or / blood. Like, I don't know, like,
yeah,
you know,
and this is the Goofy
even though he's being punched
antagonist
by a guy who's like,
and he gets that beaten up.
yes, like the Goofy. He did more damage to Luffy than Eneru did. Like, what did... Eneru barely hurt Luffy. He stabbed him a couple times and he put the gold ball around his arm. But Luffy walked away from that fight with, after this one, he was bandaged a lot. So, or for at least a bit. So it's like, I love that so much. Like, you have this really weak guy doing more damage to Luffy than God.
No, yeah, that is pretty good. I do.
Oh my god!
Now that you mention, now that you put it that way, I do think it's kind of funny.
Right. And the fight itself, you know, just lots of like Luffy being a dumbass and being tricked by, like, Foxy's tricks aren't even like genius. Luffy's just an idiot. And Foxy's just also has just so many. And he, like, I like the part where, like, he's got the mirror and Luffy just breaks the mirror and he's like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. Or the one where he's like, haha, Luffy will run into this room and fall into the spikes. And Luffy just blows up the wall with a cannon. And it's just lots of dumb stuff. And it's fun.
But make sure that you don't need to,
also, I
make
guess,
sure you don't skip past the most important quote of the series. It has been asked, do champions wear afros or do afros wear champions? Even modern science cannot solve this riddle.
Yes, and it's also funny because I guess it goes. I don't only just realized it now, but it kind of goes into the unity aspect of it, because the afro is why Luffy wins, because it catches the piece of mirror. Because Usopp said Luffy will look good in afro, so Usopp helps Luffy win basically, kind of by accident, but. Also, Usopp playing coach is good. Like, Luffy, use your training. Like, shut up, Usopp. This isn't Hajime no Ippo or Ashita no Joe.
That was another one of those things, like the afro. Like, even as it happened, I figured, like, is this going to matter? I feel like it might. Just because, like, that's a very Oda thing to do, is just introduce a goofy thing just for the sake of being goofy, but to actually then integrate it into the fight.
And sure enough, every little thing.
I do kind of like the powers, the fruit that this, what's his name, Foxy, that Foxy has, where he slows things down. It's cool because
he uses it in a lot of cool ways. Like I'm not sure. Yeah, I might even say he's like Luffy's equal in that regard, where like Luffy ultimately overcomes Foxy through like being able to outthink him at times, like with the mirror. But, Foxy uses his power. Like, I also love how the gag where he fucks up and he hits himself with cannonballs sometimes, just be like, his face bombs, like, they blew up and made a massive explosion and Foxy was the only one hurt. So that's a fun gag. But, like, he uses his power in a lot of cool ways, even though it's a really simple power. Like, he can only do one thing with it, but he does a lot of things with it, so that's pretty cool. Because all he can do is shoot beams from his hands that slow things down, but it works, and it's neat. And
another thing I noticed now, just looking back at this, there's at the end of volume 33, there's the thing with Luffy saying, "I won't lose a single member of my crew, even if it kills me." But then later.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that goes into what I was saying earlier. Like, he won't lose a member of his crew to an outside force, but they can leave, and that's because he's freedom. Like, Luffy won't enforce his will on like the others. He won't force them to do something they won't. Like, he's not gonna keep them on his crew. It, like, he'll let them leave as much as it hurts him, because oh boy, does that hurt. So yeah, that's what, and that, like, there it is, like, shouting it in your face that the ideas in this arc are going to come in late. Like, maybe not, like, you might not have made the connection while reading it, but like retroactively, like, how can you miss it? Like, you didn't, for sure. But anyway, so yeah, Luffy beats Foxy. Everyone gets in on the countdown.
One of my favorite aspects of the slow fruit's power is that just this final shot of him getting his attack sort of like backfired on him, and just seeing his face slowly
slow-mo punched
get what's the word I'm looking for, deformed, as the effect slowly wears off and then he gets blown away. Very good.
Oh man, yeah. Fucking wrecked. Oh man. Oh yep, but yeah, Luffy wins, and they don't want any of the crew members. Well, I even like how, like, so apparently I think I remember from an interview quote. I think it was Sandvan_AP at Twitter. Maybe it was from one of the SBSs, but apparently Oda said that he deliberately introduced a lot of carpenters in this arc because he wanted to confuse. Like, he didn't want people, like, where it's like, oh, we need a chef, look, Sanji. Like, who was gonna no one was gonna think Patty or Carne was going to join. But with this arc, like, there's a lot of carpenters. Like, there's the 3 Davy back carpenters. Like, this arc might have been interesting to read, like, weekly, because for the theory and speculative community. I actually remember some of it because this, Enies lobby was where I caught up into I was caught up to manga. So I remember people saying, like, this character will never join the crew. Even though they were talking about the character that does join the crew. So that's really funny in retrospect. So yeah, it's like, but you can see that because, like, there's all the 3, there's Donovan, the carpenter who can fight, or the hot lady carpenter who Sanji wants to join. And then, of course, when Water 7 happens, we get introduced to Polly, and Tilestone, and Lulu, and Rob Lucci, and Kaku, all these carpenter boys, Iceberg, so it's like, there's a bunch of potential candidates, and Luffy even asks, and Iceberg's like, yeah, sure, take anyone you want.
Yeah, I do like all the build-up with the multiple carpenters. That is cool. Because, like, it really makes it makes that whole they're looking for a carpenter aspect, like, they're looking to expand the crew. It makes it all the more prevalent in this arc, because, like, there are so many people who it could, I don't know, like, obviously it is not going to be those characters, or at least, like, the ones from the Davy back fight, like, oh, here are these 3 carpenters who are just now being introduced. Obviously, Luffy's not going to take them.
Right. And, well, because I imagine people might have theorized, like, oh, Luffy's going to pick a Foxy member, and then they'll get more characterization later, but then, of course, he's just like, I want your flag. Well, I love the gag where after they win the groggy ring, there's like a bunch of Foxy crew members are like, oh no, he looked at me. Oh no, he's gonna ask me to join. Just like, and they're just like, he wants me to join. Like, just these random nobodies who are fucking ugly as shit. They're just like, oh no, he's gonna ask me to join the Straw Hats. It's like, I want Chopper, obviously. Like, like the Foxy Pirates were trying to build this dramatic tension, and Luffy's just like, I want my crewmate back. So
I can't believe you just insulted
and of course, Luffy
Foxy's
draws
crew. How dare you, Craftsdwarf?
A lot of them are drawn to be ugly. Not all of them, but... So yeah, and of course, they take Foxy's flag, and Luffy just gives him a new one. Luffy still can't draw.
Yeah, and then there's this panel where they're leaving, and in the weird font, it says, "We'll remember this." Will that come back later? I don't know. Oda.
Every little thing.
Because, like, what if this guy has, like, some weird
that.
connections to some big pirate overlord or whatnot?
He's secretly the younger brother of Gold
You never
Roger.
know.
I don't know. It's Oda. We're talking about anything goes. Also, I guess, are we done with the Davy back fight? Or did you have any more thoughts?
No, I think I already said what I wanted to say.
Okay, because we move on to, we go back, everyone's going back to Tanjit's house, and if you look in the doorway, are you on that page?
Are you talking about the one with, like, the far out shot of the...
Yes, you can see
I was gonna
Aokiji
say,
in the doorway.
when I first saw him appear, I flipped the page back and looked, and I was like, I can't quite tell if that's actually a person or not, but yeah.
It's definitely, like, not quite, but it's definitely him. Like, just the shape of his head and the where the colors on his clothes are laid out, like, it's pretty obviously him. I was just wondering if you noticed the first. You probably. I didn't. Yeah, of course you could just go back the pages and check. So that makes sense. But yeah, they give the flag back. You know, Tanjit gave them food, even though it wasn't very good. So they help him out with the. They heal the horse, and of course Luffy got caught into the fight. But it's all good. And then oops, they bump into a Marine Admiral, one of the top 3 powers of the Navy, or the Marines. I said Navy because this translation says Navy. So I kind of like how it goes, because he's just like, I don't want to fight. I'm just taking a walk, and then he's like well, I love the bit where like. He overhears the Tanjit thing, and he's like, hey, get ready to go. And Luffy's like, watch out, he's a Marine! And then there's like silence, and he's like, oh wait, the Marines are the good guys, and we're the bad guys, and it's like...
Yeah, I was definitely going to point that out if you didn't,
but they
that
run
was
into
probably...
Yes, it was great. Yeah, because they run into so many shitty Marines, and they help so many people that, like, obviously the reverse is more likely, but no, it's... Oh god, it was good. And yeah, he helps them. He freezes the whole fucking ocean. And now you understand how he can ride a bike on the ocean, because he just freezes the water under it. Because, I mean, like, it's just so weird, like, looking back, and, like, obviously, like, Aokiji riding a bike on the ocean is supposed to be really intriguing, but it's like, I know exactly how he does it, so that element of mystery
I definitely
is
did
lost
wonder at
to
first.
Me,
like, I just saw the silhouette of the person riding the bike on the ocean. It's like, what does that mean? And then, boom, here you go. And Oda even, well, obviously clues you in on it with the big freezing of the entire ocean, but when he eventually leaves, you see the little,
he rides his bike
the little
off
trail of
after,
ice behind him as he's going along.
Right. So,
also, that's fucking terrifying. He just froze an entire ocean. That is, I mean, he's an admiral of the Marines, so, yeah, that's...
Yeah, this is one of the strongest characters in the setting, and they just, like, bump into him, and it's like, oh, shit. But luckily he's, his motto is, lazy justice, as he puts it. Though, honestly, it's kind of, like, it involves talking about later stuff, so I'm not going to go into it, but I wouldn't say he really exemplifies lazy justice, but it has to do with the other admirals, so that'll be a discussion topic for later. Because there's more to Aokiji than we see.
Well, I mean, even here, he went and, like, he froze that entire ocean to help the guy across, so that's hardly lazy.
Well, I love how it's also like something about their he's walking away and they're thanking him, and he's like scratching his head and waving goodbye back. Like he's kind of awkward about it, even though he just did like a good thing like randomly. But like, I don't know. Aokiji's interesting for reasons I can't fully discuss. But even here we definitely have stuff to discuss because he helps Tanjit, and then he's like, you know what? Maybe you guys should die after all.
Yeah, I do. I was almost maybe a little worried about like how, because that would have been the easy thing for Oda to do, is just introduce this character and he has a reason to not fight the Straw Hats, so they just don't fight. But like you can still show off the guy's power and show the big gap in their abilities and whatnot. But then no, he decides, you know what? No, I am gonna fight you, and then they fight, and it's pretty good stuff. This is where, I mean, not where things start to get amazing. That's not until they get to Water 7, I felt, but this is pretty good.
Yeah, well, it's like such a punch in the face after like you get like so many goofy antics with Foxy, and then suddenly like shit gets real. Like, because this is a character who's, he has a power comparable to Eneru's. They're both really powerful Logias, but this is a character without, like, okay, here's the thing, it's like the monster trio, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji attack him at the same time, and they completely fail to do any damage, and they all, like, lose a limb, effectively, like, for the course of the battle. Like, so without lifting a finger, Aokiji defeats the monster trio. Like, holy fucking shit. Like, we've run into strong dude. Like, Eneru took out Zoro and Sanji and Robin, so he's, but this guy didn't even lift a finger to do the same.
He did a little more than lifting a finger, because he had to grab their limbs.
Did he? That's right. Okay, that's right. I thought he just, like, got hit and... Oh, you're right. He did grab the sword, and okay. So I thought that he just got hit, and then he froze him from, like he did Luffy, because he just froze Luffy's arm from his stomach. But you're right. He did grab Zoro and Sanji by the sword and legs. So never mind. He did do more than lift a finger, but still, he's pretty easily just disabled them, like completely. Like they were fucked. So it's like, god fucking damn. And of course, Robin, he froze completely, and. Obviously it's still not, like, if this was real, she would have fucking died, but, like, it's still, I like how it's treated as a serious threat, like, Robin, they have to get her to the bath immediately, but they can't thaw her out too fast, so, it's a rough sequence, because Aokichi's just too fucking strong. I
like how he's sort of coy about it. He's like, oh, don't whine. She'll still be alive when she thaws. Just be careful, because if she breaks, she'll die. For example, if you were to hit her like this...
Oh, God. One thing I just realized, because we talked about the environmental aspect of Logias, but, like, I don't know, Aokiji doesn't seem to be making the area colder by being there, so maybe Oda isn't using it as much, or forgot about it, I don't know. Or maybe Lei can turn it off. So I don't know. I just noticed that while rereading it, because I'd been thinking about that from earlier parts of the discussion. So it hasn't been something that's been directly stated. So thus the speculation around it regarding stuff like Dragon.
I do also like the way the whole crew is kind of integrated into this encounter. Pretty much. The whole crew, because Luffy obviously runs over and catches Robin, so she doesn't get punched and broken. And then Usopp sneaks in to steal her away, so that Luffy just gets stomped, but Robin doesn't get broken. Yep. And then even Nami steps up to this guy, this admiral of the Marines, and she's at least, like, she's not accomplishing much, but she's at least kind of like buying time for Usopp and Chopper to escape.
Right. It
would have been so easy for Oda to just like have her stand there and be like, oh no, what do I do?
Yeah, right. And because though noticing Aokiji just kind of like dismisses her, like he doesn't even, like with Zoro and Sanji he froze them, but with Nami he doesn't even do that. He just like, please move, and he like grabs her weapon and just pushes her aside. Like he doesn't actually do anything to her really.
Yeah.
So that I didn't realize until just now, but I knew she didn't get frozen, but I didn't notice he like dismissed her like that. So that's kind of, because she is weaker. Like the other three are actually like strong. She's relatively close to a normal person's strength considering, but it's something. Oh yeah. Also, he mentioned he's you've probably noticed, but he was mentioning Luffy's family, like his grandfather. Like he said before the arc started, he's like not an honest person in the whole bunch of those monkeys, monkey D's. So that's something just to keep in mind.
So we get Luffy's brother. Now we get Luffy's grandfather.
Yep.
But wait, Luffy hasn't mentioned he had a grandfather.
Nope. Luffy doesn't care. Oh yeah. So anyway, there was something I wanted to ask. So Aokiji, he defeats Luffy. He freezes him solid, like pretty easily actually. Like, but then he doesn't destroy. He doesn't kill Luffy because he also notices that like Luffy wanted to do a one-on-one fight, and he's like, so did you like say you wanted to do a one-on-one fight so I don't touch the rest of your crew, or did you like legitimately think you could beat him? And I was wondering if you had a thought on that, or beat me. So like, did you have a thought on that? Because like I have my ideas, but I also know more about the character, so
see, I feel like Luffy, just knowing what I know of Luffy so far, I feel like he probably thought he could beat this guy, and then obviously just failed miserably.
Yeah, like
because that just seems like Luffy. Like, I mean, would Luffy do something like that to protect his crew? I like, not saying he wouldn't, but
not so subtly.
I don't know.
Like,
he seems like when he's the kind of guy where like if he gets into a fight, he seems like he's going in with the intent to win. Like he believes he can win. Like I haven't seen him fight anybody. Well, then again, he hasn't been weaker than anybody at this point, but like there's never been a point where he's gone in to a fight not intending to win or not thinking he could win. But I don't know.
Right, and of course he also doesn't kill Luffy because he feels like he owes Luffy for beating Crocodile. So the higher ups at the Marines do know that, because like that's not supposed to be public information. Like the public thinks Smoker defeated Crocodile, but Aokiji, of course he knows. He's a fucking Marine Admiral. He's like he and two others are second in command, are next in command after Sengoku. So, yeah.
There's also the little part where he's walking away and he talks about, he was going to deliver this message from Smoker, but then he's like, forget it. So I was like, what's the message?
I'll be honest, I don't know. I would assume it's just like, I'll get you a straw hat, or I don't care that you beat Crocodile, I'll get you something. I could guess, but again, we haven't found this message. I forgot about this because I don't think it's ever come up again. So, or maybe it did, and I've forgotten. So, yeah.
I miss Smoker. Bring him back. Also, I do like. See, now obviously looking into the rest of what we read in this stretch of chapters, obviously there's way more to go off of than just this little part here, but I do like how this moment starts to kind of it puts the crew on edge. Like Chopper and Usopp are like shouting at each other, and so there's infighting in the crew here, and obviously there's way more to that.
Yeah, like Chopper or Usopp's even like, all I did was run around. Like he's not feeling very useful right now. Which is pretty important. And of course, Aokiji's mentioning Robin, having Robin with you will destroy you. And, well, that's something I was sort of, like, alluding to way back when I was, like, back as far as Whiskey Peak, because there's precedent for it. Like, Robin would, like, from her introduction, she was working against Baroque works in, like, several different ways. So it's like, so he's not off base for assuming the same is going to happen with the Straw Hats. So, right. So, she has a tendency to, the crews all the crews she's been on have been destroyed, and we saw that with Baroque Works pretty close up. So, yeah, and now we're seeing the Straw Hats get split apart, and in a pretty dire, I guess it's not dire yet, but yeah, you're right about the crew interconflict getting started too. So it's good.
See, and I guess this was sort of the different, like the disconnect I had with the Davy back fight versus this moment was here. I very clearly see what all it's, sort of set. Maybe not all of it, but like I see what it's going for, what it's kind of introducing here. Mm-hmm. Whereas with the Davy back fight, haven't quite put the pieces together yet.
Right. That's fair. So yeah, any final thoughts on Aokiji and the Davy back fight? Because that's pretty much it for the arc. So
I do think it is interesting that once that ends, we kind of go from this like super serious, super dire situation to back to the goofy antics again, because this again draws a pretty what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty significant contrast to like what happens later, where there's another big moment like this where the crew is kind of on edge. Only here they're kind of able to go back to business as usual, or so it seems. But then later they aren't really able to do that because things are much worse.
Right. Like at first they just bounce back, but later not so much. Also, I do like the panel of like everyone, like Robin and Luffy are sleeping, and everyone's just around. Like Sanji and Usopp are on the table, and Zoro, just like everyone, like they're all like worried about each other, so they're all sleeping in the same room just because of all the shit that happened.
That's good.
So,
they're a family.
It's god, it's so good. But yeah, like as far as like, bouncing back, like Luffy's making fun of the fact that he almost died. He's like doing his imitation as frozen Luffy. So fucking dumbass. I like how his face is even like his face before was like determined and intense because he was in the middle of a fight, but here he's just like, it's like shocked, and like, so Luffy's memory of the incident, or he's warping it for comic effect, I guess, but it's just he doesn't give a fuck. He almost died. It's fine. It happens. All right, getting into Water 7 right off the bat, where you're introduced to a frog and a train. I really like the train has got so much detail on it, like all the rivets, and it's just a fucking train on the water.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
When I saw this, I was like, what the fuck? Oda does a lot of... Oda has done a lot of weird, like, natural sort of environments. I mean, like, the natural environment's kind of being unnatural, but still, like, in the context of this setting, it's a natural thing that happens. But no, here's just a train, a man-made thing, on the water. It happens.
Yep. A land-based vehicle on the water.
I like how these characters don't even know what it is. They're like, is that a steamboat? What is it?
Yeah, like, it's completely alien to them. Like, to the audience, it's, like, obviously a fucking train. But, yeah, that's a good detail, is that, like, obviously they would have never seen it. Like, because that's the thing, is, like, there aren't a lot of giant land masses in One Piece, so the use for a train, like, even if they clearly have the technology for it, but it's not, like, necessary. Like, I could see it being kind of useful on an island like Alabasta, which is pretty big, though I don't know about trains in deserts. I don't see that. I don't know how that would work with the sand and the tracks. Like, yeah, it probably wouldn't work too well. But, so there are islands big enough to validate it, but obviously the ocean is much bigger, and so that's more of a thing. But yeah, it's like, it is like such a just a what the fuck? Because it just comes out of basically nowhere, and none of the characters even recognize it. So yeah, it's a great introduction, and the 2-page spread, and it's cool. So yeah, anyway, then we get introduced to old Granny Kokoro and Chimney, the grandchild. She's just this drunk weirdo, but she watches the lighthouse that and is able to give them some exposition on that they need to know for their adventure on Water 7. I also like how, like, actually, I'm gonna change subjects for a bit, because I just realized the Garatsu cover story is going, because he did not die from falling from the ocean, he just landed on the blue sea. Did you have anything to say on the Ace cover story? Because we covered most of it last time, but, well, we saw most of it last time, but we didn't talk about it because it didn't end. But I guess to summarize, Ace is looking for Blackbeard. He beats up innocent Dr. Blackbeard, who's not the wrong one. He runs into a milkmaid. He infiltrates a marine base. He gets discovered, but he gives them, like, it's just things happen, I guess. Did you have any thoughts on it, or no?
No, I actually didn't really have much to say on the Ace cover story, which I thought was a little surprising, considering, I don't know, Ace is probably one of the characters I was more interested in when he showed up. Yeah. I don't know, like, maybe it's just the way the cover story is framed. There wasn't much for me to take away from it, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was kind of like, you could remove it and nothing really changes. Like, there's like, the Marines have milk now. That's nice. But it doesn't really, like, there's nothing, like, with Walpole, something changed. He went from a fallen king to a beggar to a CEO. So it's like, now there's something to look to when he returns. With Ace, it's like, he was looking for Blackbeard, and he's looking for Blackbeard. He's still looking for Blackbeard. Like, he's supposed to have new information on it, so he's not lost, I guess, but he didn't seem lost. Like it kind of doesn't matter. Like, that's the thing. So, like, we could expect Ace to come up in the story again, I think. That's a fair assumption. But, the cover story, I would not say matters. So, yeah, it's probably one of the weaker ones. But anyway, they learn about Water 7. They're going to get their carpenter. I like how, like, no one in Water 7 gives a fuck that they're pirates. Like, they're so, like, fine. Like, they feel so safe in their city. Like, as we see, the carpenters are adequate at dealing with pirate threats. So it's neat because it's like they're just allowed to adventure in the city when normally they have to hide. Like in Alabasta, they had to hide themselves because there was a marine presence. So it's nice. Did you have anything to say about this sort of introduction to Water 7? Like, I like the gag where the one carpenter like turns and hits the guy with the log, and he's just like, "Oh, sorry," and then the other carpenter like slashes him with a saw, like deliberately, like as if it were a sword. It's just like, "Oh, sorry." Like they're trying to play off their attacks as accidents, and it like kind of makes sense for the first one because that's like a believable accident. But then the attack with the saw, it's just like, wait, that's definitely on purpose. And then they just fucking destroy that small time crew. So
yeah, another one of these big cast introductions where we're introducing a bunch of new characters.
Yep. And yeah, we get more, like, that classic adventure stuff. They're just going in, they're like, Yager bulls. And then there's, like, you know, just the more gags, like the dude, the Yager bull renter upping the price because he's like, holy shit, you guys got a lot of gold. That'll be 1 million for 2. It's just so much. It's always fun. I don't know. And I really like how water is used in Water 7, like, as elevators for the like, and also this goes back to, like, the technology, too, because, like, Yager bulls are basically cars in this city, but they're animals, so it's, like, it's because it's One Piece, like, they have animals for phones, and they have animals for water cars, and it's just neat. I don't know, Water 7 looks...
This is another one of those interesting environments, interesting settings that Oda creates. You've got the whole city of water, which is... Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Yeah, and it looks cool. It's just, you know, fun to see.
I'm trying to think of what environment... Because these, like, little... I don't know about a full water city, but, like, cities that have these kind of... The rivers going through it. I don't know what it's
I'm trying to remember what it's called. I don't... Venezia. Yeah. Venice.
That makes...
Italy. Yeah, I couldn't... Well, because... Okay, the way I was trying to remember it was probably indicative of how much of a fucking weeaboo I am, because the Iyashike anime / manga Aria takes place in Neo Venezia on Mars, and that's how I was trying to... Because it's the main character is an Undine who likes the boat... The tour guide who sails the little boat or moves little boats with it, and so that's how I was trying to remember the real city.
It probably shows how much of an ignorant person I am, because when I was thinking, like, there's that one Pokemon movie that has it in it, and there is Aria, but I haven't seen Aria.
Right, we were both trying to go to our fucking weeb shit examples instead of like, oh yeah, it's a real place. Why can't we just remember the real place? Because we're fucking idiots. But now we have Water 7 as another example. Oh god. So anyway, Zoro gets attacked by the Frankie family and destroys them. Robin and Chopper are looking around too. She is told about something involving CP9, which I don't think we know what that is yet. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I forgot.
It never comes up again, so it's not important.
Okay. It's not important. Oh, and they get the gold cashed. Nami threatens the dude. He's like, I'll give you 100 million, and she's like, that's about how much he's worth. If I don't agree with your proposal, I'll scalp you. Fucking Nami, she's fucking brutal. I mean, it is worth. It's like he says, it's got historical value. So it's like, I don't know. It's Nami. She's gonna get every penny she can. She knows what it's like to be poor. So of course she wants to have as much. You know, it's a character trait. It's fine. We know it.
Leave it to Nami to Nami's not an appraiser, but leave it to her to understand the value of of treasure, of money.
Right. And Luffy, of course, doesn't, because he just, like, immediately throws 100 million into the fucking ocean, and they dive after it, and he just grabs it because he's rubber, and it's just... These fucking idiots.
I also really like how, again, this is something that ties directly to Skypiea, and stresses that Skypiea was important, because they got this treasure from Skypiea, which only had the value it did because it had, historical and whatnot. And then the money from the treasure from Skypiea becomes like one of the driving forces of this plot. This
stretch of chapters, it's a major fucking plot point. Like, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they meet Kaku, who is also Usopp, his long lost square brother. Luffy's even... Well, actually, I just realized, because his eyes are similar, but instead of the three lashes are coming from the top instead of from the sides. Like, they have different eyebrows and mouth.
The nose.
Yeah, they have different eyebrows and mouth though, and the lashes are coming from a different side. But I think maybe his pupils are generally bigger. So, but even then, they still have the same like roundness of their eyes. So,
to go back a little bit before we skip past it, I like the little panel after they jump into the water after the briefcase where Nami's like, I'm gonna punch you, and Usopp's like, I'm gonna break your teeth, but you already see that Luffy has been punched and he is missing teeth.
That's true. That is true. They destroyed that poor idiot.
Also, a side note, I really like the design. Nami in like the suit top with the tie.
Oh, that's a great outfit. Her initial Water 7 one with the tie. She's looking all professional as she goes to turn in gold. She's great. Nami always has the different outfits, but yeah, I agree. This one in particular is good. So anyway, Kaku goes off to check out the ship. He just jumps off a fucking cliff, which Luffy later tries to imitate with less success. Because it looked cool. Sanji's out and about. He sees Robin. He chases after her. Then he sees Usopp, but it's actually Kaku, and he's just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with my brain. I'm just gonna stab. And Zoro also, like, everyone just recognizes Usopp by the length of his nose. Not even the shape of his nose, just the length. Because everyone sees Kaku and just goes like, hey, that's Usopp. Then we meet Iceberg, the mayor, and he's a fucking dork. Like, the secretary's like, you have a meeting in 10 minutes, you have an appearance at the square, then you have to meet with the mayor of Pucci, then there's some documents, and he's just like, I don't wanna. Fucking nerd.
Yeah, like, Oda has this recurring habit of, I don't know if that just makes it easier for him, if that just fits more into his storytelling style, or if it's more of like, this is back in like the age of pirates, so it is more of like I don't know if it's supposed to be a time capsule, but being pirates, maybe it's less. Anyways, he introduces a lot of either like monarchs, or like in this instance where you have he's both the mayor and like the president of this company, so he's like, you have a lot of these arcs have one very important figure.
Yeah, like he's basically the ruler of this island, quote unquote. So right, and we've seen like Dalton, we've seen Gonfar and Eneru, like there's a lot of leadership we see. So yeah, but this is more a technology driven island, so it makes sense that the mayor is also the president of the company. So yeah.
I felt like I had something more I was going to say on that, and then I just lost my train of thought.
Because I interrupted you because I'm fucking terrible.
It was even before you, and it was even before you interrupted me. Like, I just kind of trailed off.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, this guy, he's even, well, I don't know, a lot of, not all, but some of the sort of like, these characters are incompetent at what they do. Like, I mean, Walpole was negligent, maybe not incompetent.
Right.
But yeah, this guy is bleh.
Iceberg's definitely like, he can be lazy, but at the same time he's like respected and competent too. So he's at least, or he's sometimes competent at least, but other times, and then I just wanted to point out the gag where he gets like the letter, and it's like, oh, check out their ship for them, and there's like a kiss mark on the paper, and he just like rips it up because it's from Granny Kokoro, so she's like, we've seen her. So it's, yeah, and then we get introduced to the Frankie family's trying to take the money. But they get stopped by Polly, the rope boy, who's just like, hey, money. And then Polly gets stopped by Rob Lucci, He's cool. He's got a pigeon. He speaks through the pigeon. Luffy didn't catch on to that. Like, Luffy's just like, why are you getting mad at Lucci? It was the pigeon who insulted you. And he gets like this super dramatic panel as he's like, this fucking idiot. It's just all these goofy fucking carpenters.
And now that this gag of Luffy getting his like face stretched, it's just getting taken to like a ludicrous level now, because you've got like Usopp pulling on one side and Nami's pulling on the other, and then like the next panel, like poor Luffy, his face is just like gone.
Trying to find it. Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, with his they didn't let go, so it's just like stretched all the way down in both ways. He's just like, his hands are up like helplessly. He's just like, stop, please, I beg you. It is. Oh god, his poor. Look at his face. He's just. What's going on? I don't even recognize where his face is. Like, poor man. He didn't deserve it. I don't. Actually, probably did. It's Luffy. I also really like seeing the shipyard with the big crane. And it looks cool. Like, all the there's so much, like, look at all the people down there doing all different stuff. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's another one of these.
I never actually, like, sat down and appreciated it, but holy fuck. Like, how long did he take to do, I mean, assistance, I guess, but still.
See, that's the thing with Oda's artwork, is that, like, I already have, like, a slow time reading One Piece just because each, like, there will be a lot of, like, it's just, the pages tend to be very dense with information, whether it's visual information or, you know, dialogue. And then you get stuff like this where I feel like I can't even, like, I'm already reading at a slow pace, and then you get a big spread like this where I want to kind of sit back and appreciate the art. But
Is there a Panda Man in there? That kind of stuff, yeah.
But I also want to read it in a timely fashion. So, like,
right, especially if you procrastinate on your reading. I didn't, but I have before. And I assume you did, because it's Mathwiz. Mathwiz always procrastinates. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I'm sorry, Oda.
Luffy even fucking asks Iceberg if he wants to be a pirate, but this is when I already said earlier that, like, he said, like, anyone can be, you know, if you want someone, just, you know, take them. That's fine. But obviously they have job security. Why would they want to be a pirate? So, but, you know, as it is, Luffy has to earn his crew. So, obviously, it's not going to be that easy.
And then the Frankie family appears again, and Usopp's missing.
Stuff starts to go downhill because that happens, and then we find out that the Mary is no longer in condition to sail. It's not just like it's beyond repair. It's the Mary is on her last legs, and things are going down from here. Like, all that fun adventure, all the fun gags. No, the smiles stop.
It's more like it's time for the Mary to go away.
Damn you, Mathwiz. This is the end of the Nen Show. Me and Mathwiz are no longer friends. I stole that joke.
What I really like in it's just a really tiny thing, but I don't know. I have a thing for, like, the more like wind and animation, but even then, like, in these panels, it looks kind of interesting. Where Zoro is just, like, staring at the merry-go, and you kind of get, like, there's the page before where he's just, like, flashing back to the conversation with the guy, and he's just kind of looking in silence, and then he's like, will you really never sail again, Mary? And it's, I don't know, it's cinematic, and I like it.
Yeah. And it's
really
also
good,
interesting
like,
to see Zoro
end
like
of volume
this,
cliffhanger.
He's usually so serious, but now, well, I mean, not that this isn't serious, but it's, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like, you know, we obviously, like, Luffy and Usopp would care about this ship, but it's interesting to see Zoro being the same way, you know, like, but it's, like, been his home for, like, God knows how, like, since they got it, pretty much, so it's pretty understandable, like, that there'd be a sentiment there. But anyway, the Carpenters break down exactly why the ship is, well, I love how they go through everything, like, they also, like, they can build the Mary again, but the ones who will notice it that it's different the most are going to be you guys, so it's like, oof. Well, and then we get a part that just fucking, like, hurts. Like, Luffy's expression is really interesting too, because Iceberg says that, like, you will sail the Mary until it sinks and it risks the life of your whole crew. I'm amazed that you call yourself the ship's captain. And Luffy's just like Luffy's face, just like the sweat on it, just like it's so, for this is Luffy we're talking about. Like, he's not getting angry, he's, like, quiet. But
you've got like the little, like, wrinkles under his eyes too, which kind of like It's like it's a very good like mixed expression of like obviously he's upset, he's angry, but he's also kind of like taken aback.
Iceberg's
like
got
he
a
has
point.
to.
Yeah, because Iceberg fucking like hammered it home right into Luffy's heart, and like he doesn't want to accept that, but now his like captaincy is being called into question, and it's like, oh fuck. It's just a really like small like little thing, but it was just that one panel of his fucking face. Oh, and it's like really good. But anyway, it moves on a bit. Iceberg has a visitor from a government dude, because Kokoro is even saying, warning the Straw, it's like, watch out for government officials, and here's Corgi, government official. And then Luffy and Nami notice that the money is in fact gone. No, not all of it, but 2 cases. And they find out the issue with Usopp and the Frankie family. Nami goes out to return the money to the ship and finds Usopp fucking wrecked. He's got the shit beat out of him. Oh, God.
I'm curious, because I've never been really in any One Piece forums or anything. Has there ever been any complaints about, like, the Merry-Go having, like, such a strong presence in this arc? Like, it is the main, like, one of the big driving
forces.
forces
I think I saw someone saying, like, who cares about a fucking boat? Like, it's just, like, I move houses, like, who cares? But, like, I personally don't mind. Like, I definitely, like, I've moved recently, and I lived in that house for, like, 13 years, and I sometimes think, like, about driving by and seeing it again. So it's, like, there's I do think there's a sentiment to, like, having a home, and, there's, so yeah, and the Mary in particular, it's not just a home; it's a traveling home. It's like it's not, so it's more than it's also a tool with because like they went up to the sky with it. They went up mountains with it. Like it's more like a car in that sense. But like I don't know, I don't go on adventures with my car. And I haven't lost my car either, so I can't really speak about it on that front. But it's like, so I've seen like at least one guy who's like doesn't give a fuck, and you know what, that's fine. But it's not a general like generally people like this arc.
I mean, like, yeah, so. I don't see any reason to dislike it other than, like, I mean, just because the Merry-Go is an inanimate object doesn't mean that it can't be important to the story. I was just curious if anyone had, like, ever, taken an issue or anything with this. I mean, like, I don't, and I haven't, like I said, I haven't been in any discussion places, so I've never heard either sentiment.
Right, so, yeah.
But, I mean, if anything, I've probably heard good things.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, is I've generally heard good things about how the Mary was handled. So, and in fact, it's often been a point of praise, but that involves talking about later stuff that you may or may not know. But I'm still going to be quiet on because this is a attempt at a spoiler-free podcast. I'm not going to say it is spoiler-free because I make mistakes. I'm only human. I'm trying, and sometimes it is part of the discussion. But I haven't been too bad about it, okay? I'm sorry. Like I think I've talked about before, but it's like, if it's something like Bleach or One Piece where only one of us is going through it, or when one of us hasn't gone through it, then we're going to try and keep spoilers down. But if it's something like Naruto, where we've already read, like for Hero Academia and Hunter x Hunter, for example, like we've already gone through it, so why should we keep low on spoilers when we both have things to say from later on? Like, it doesn't, why? But anyway, back to One Piece. So, like, Usopp got the shit beat out of him, and he blames it on, like... that panel of him saying that he can't face the others because he's just like, he was too weak and they were going to fix the Mary, but now they don't have enough money. And it's just, it's rough. It's the poor guy. So yeah, Nami leaves Usopp for the time being. Everyone's sort of like moving around a bit, but then we see the Frankie family. They give their boss Frankie the money, and Usopp isn't quite done yet. Did you have any thoughts on Usopp's encounter with Frankie? Or...
Well, he shows up, and Frankie's an ass, and he's like, nope, it's not your money now, and then Usopp gets beaten up, and it's sad.
Yeah, well, because it's like, it's like the follow-up to the Aokiji stuff, because, Aokiji showed him, like, this is the kind of person that the Straw Hats are going to have to fight, and now Usopp's finding the limits of his own... Because up to this point, like, Usopp's only fought, like, Like, he beat Shu, and he beat, Mr. Four, Miss Merry Christmas, so he's, like, he's capable of fighting, but at the same time, but, like, compare that to this, like, Frankie appears to be above them, because he just easily gets, dismisses Usopp's attack, and then his minions, just fucking, like, just wreck him, like, he's completely outmatched, and he just gets destroyed. Ugh. So naturally, it's really, really fucking cathartic when right after that, the Straw Hats arrive at the Frankie house.
And
they
just
find
wreck
Usopp.
everything.
Oh, they are pissed off. That like the panel of them like just Sanji lighting up a cigarette and everyone else being fucking pissed. Like you don't.
Yes,
like,
they do the
does
thing
Chopper get
where
mad
the
that
four
often?
characters, you get the shot from behind and they're just walking looking like badasses, like the Yu Yu Hakusho thing that they did the one time, and this time it's Chopper's in there too, and
Chopper usually doesn't get that mad, and let alone is he really with the monster trio that often. So it's perfectly understandable. But like when Chopper gets mad, someone fucked up, okay? Because he's usually so cute and adorable and sweet, but now he's fucking pissed off, and they blow the fucking door open, they knock out that big fucking Frankie dude, and they just fucking trash the place. Like, oh god, he's so good. And, like, it's not even about the money anymore. They don't get... Oh, man. Definitely satisfying. And, I love how they don't just beat up the guys. They bring down the house. Like you see the house, and then it, transitions
it's just
away.
a pile of rubble. They tear the whole thing down. It is...
Oh, man. But anyway...
I really like that panel. Like, first of all, it's, like, two panels. You get the one where Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji are just kind of chilling in the wreckage. And then you've got the faraway shot where you see the whole thing, and you've got Chopper helping Usopp, and oh my god,
the fucking brought the house down. It's great. Oh,
and then immediately after that, Luffy says, "We'll say farewell to the merry go."
Right, because like iceberg, like the crew will likely will drown if they continue on the merry go. They can't. Abandon. They can't sail on that ship anymore, so they have to leave it, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, Zoro says it later, like a person can get stronger. They can overcome their wounds, especially in One Piece, where like this is Zoro. He lost like 5 out of the 6 pints of blood in his body, and he's fine. So, but ships, they're not like that. They can't self-repair, so they just pile up the wounds. So and. Then we get Usopp waking up, and they have to explain the situation to him.
This is this whole thing. I don't know which I like better, this scene or the thing that comes after with Luffy and Usopp. But
yeah,
this is probably my favorite part in the manga so far.
Really awesome.
Maybe
that's great because it's so rough because it's just.
Plus,
Usopp even puts it like, he's comparing himself to the Mary, which, as Zoro said, it's kind of wrong, because he's a person, he can get better, the Mary can't, but Usopp just, he's afraid, he's the coward, of course he's going to feel this way, of course he's going to feel like, and it's his fault, and he felt completely useless Aokiji, so he's just, this useless, weak dude in a series, because strength matters, and Usopp doesn't have it, and I also like how, because Oda does this thing with his transitions where he'll break up panels, and he uses that a lot with Mary in this segment, because Mary is literally broken. So you'll see a lot of panel, there's this one, right before the scene, after the iceberg stuff, and there's Mary broken up into 3 panels, and then there's another one on the next page with Mary broken up into 2 panels, and it's stop it! You're just driving it into the wound, Oda. Oh, man.
No, and it's especially good because you have someone like Luffy who, that's what was really cool about Usopp getting removed from the scene earlier, was that he wasn't there for the initial, he didn't know about Barry first. He's the only one at this point who is, out of the loop. And so you had, Luffy had time to go from, the same position that Usopp has here, trying to defend the merry-go and saying, we're not going to get rid of this ship. He's had time to sort of change his opinion, and we know how stubborn Luffy is. He says it himself, that, once his mind is made up, it ain't changing. And so, Luffy he's been where Usopp is in this scene, and so, Yeah,
well, the part that hits me is when Usopp, what does Usopp say exactly?
Well, no. Yeah, and it does go beyond just the ship too, because something I've always kind of been wondering since the start of the Nen Show was, Usopp he's always calling himself Captain Usopp. He's always he feels like someone who will become a leader at some point, and there is always in the background, there's always kind of been that little nugget that sort of perhaps could put him at odds with Luffy. Is that Usopp kind of doesn't belong here, but like he does. Like everyone on the Straw Hats belong, they're a family. But like in a sense, like him feeling like he doesn't belong, it's not entirely unjustified because like he does kind of have that similar aspiration as Luffy. Like Usopp wants to be the captain of a ship. He wants, and like there are well established reasons as to why Usopp would feel out of place here. Why he would feel. Like, why he would have these feelings, why this fight would happen. And that's why, Luffy even says later, like, it's too late. Because if this were as simple as just the merry go, it wouldn't have come to this point in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, well, like, the part that gets me that I was trying to find the line for is that, like, Usopp says, how can you call yourself the ship's captain? And it's like, so both Iceberg and Usopp are challenging Luffy as a captain, but they're also like in sort of inverse. Iceberg is an expert on ships, but he's also an outsider. While Usopp doesn't know ships as well, but he's a Straw Hat. So it's pretty rough for Luffy because he isn't very captain-like, or like he is the captain, but it's like like the whole thing with Usopp. Usopp also has had aspirations to be the captain. So it's, but now, for fucking Usopp to say like Luffy's not a good captain, like goddamn.
There are a lot of like really hard-hitting, like this is a very vicious kind of back and forth, almost like more intense than some actual fights that have happened in the series, and obviously there's no fighting here, or at least not physically. Well,
there's
at least.
Very little. Yeah. Well, Luffy grapples with Usopp briefly, and Sanji kicks him away. But other than that, they're not like literally fighting.
But yeah, I mean, like you've got Luffy, like. It also makes sense that Usopp would perhaps be the most attached to the ship because they got it during, the arc where Usopp was introduced. So
from Kaya, who is the OCP, Usopp and Kaya.
but yeah, so he's like, Usopp's like, you know what? No, I'll fix the ship. I'll find a way to make it work. And Luffy's saying, you're not a carpenter. You're
right. Well, it's like, like Usopp's not the carpenter, but Usopp's also challenging Luffy on his captaincy. So there's like there's sort of like a bit of like knowing one's place here almost. Like Luffy needs to grow into being a captain, but Usopp isn't meant to be the carpenter. So it's kind of sad because like Usopp's like totally in the wrong on like every front. Like I said, people can grow stronger, so Usopp can overcome this, but the Merry can't, and he's not the carpenter. So it's understandable of Luffy to take the words of actual like professional carpenters, but like so it's like Usopp's wrong, but you don't want him to be wrong because he's the character that you've grown to like over so long, and you understand where he's coming from. Like, he's afraid that he's too weak. He's afraid that he'll be next to be discarded as useless. And of course, like you said, he has a personal attachment to the Mary, so he doesn't just want to abandon who is their other comrade. So it's like,
And I also like how the rest of the crew is integrated in this scene as well, because they're just kind of, they do, as I've said many times before, they feel like a family, and so they're kind of, like, they're there. And on some ways, like, they'll chime in every now and then, like, hey, stop fighting, whatnot, or, don't say this or whatever. But then there's also a lot of them just standing around because, like, two people they care about are having this big argument. Luffy almost kicks Usopp off the crew, and Sanji's like, yo, you idiot, what are you saying? Calm down.
Right.
So, Sanji will
speaking from experience, when two family members are getting loud at each other, it's pretty normal to stay quiet. So, I've been there. Not like this, but it not even as bad. But it's just a normal response, I think. So, because you brought up the family point, and, it's I've actually been curious about this scene in the English dub because I think it was from a quote from Sonny Strait, the voice actor for Usopp, talking about how like difficult it was for him to voice this scene because of like how many different emotions he had to work into Usopp's, because he's the voice actor for Usopp. So I was kind of interesting to see how he did, because I did like Sonny Strait's Usopp in what I listened to of the dub. So I was kind of curious as to how this scene turned. Maybe I'll watch it afterwards, and maybe you could watch it. And I don't remember how it was in the original. I'm sure it was good in the original Japanese. But
I'd like to. This is probably one of those scenes that I think would be great to watch animated, because it is like a full. Is this like a full chapter? Just this argument? Almost. There's
pretty much like
the majority of the chapter.
There's like a page or two of Iceberg at the start, and then Usopp wakes up and it goes into the fight, and then it ends with Usopp saying he wants to fight Luffy. So it's pretty much a chapter of the crew just arguing with each other, especially Luffy and Usopp. And oh man,
yeah, like I said, this is maybe my favorite like scene from the manga so far. So of course I'd like to see all the different iterations of it and see kind of what they do with it.
Right. Oh, it's good stuff. Good character. Like again, like it's the all the build up from the arcs thus far, like the Aokiji stuff, Davy backfight to a lesser extent, and of course Water 7 with a bit of Skypiea from the Golden, of course, and then like even from the beginning with Usopp wanting to be the captain. So it's like, yeah, it's good. It's good.
And all while this is happening, you're getting a lot of the flashbacks to, Usopp joining the crew and.
Oh, and then they pull that shit towards the end of the fight too, and it's like, Oda, you're not allowed to do this. It's not fair. Because he's like the fight's about to fucking end, Luffy's walking off into the fight, and they're showing them like, yeah, we're gonna go to Elbaf, aren't we, Usopp? Right? And then it's like, fuck.
No, and then you've got Sanji and Zoro continuing their bickering, and Chopper's all sad because his friend Usopp.
And he's the youngest, so oh god.
Yeah, no, they even say it. It feels like the crew is falling apart, and it's oh god, and then the big spread of Luffy and Usopp staring each other down.
Yep, and it's like, well, it's so also interesting as a fight because like. We know that Luffy is the strongest and Usopp's the weakest, but Usopp, like, because he even points out is that, like, he knows Luffy. He's not going to underestimate him like so many of his opponents have. And so, like, Usopp goes all out from the very beginning, and he hits Luffy with so much shit. Like, it's like a more intense version of the Foxy fight, almost, without the gags, because it's just, like, Usopp just going all out with everything he's got. And he does pretty well. He gets off to a strong start. Like, obviously, he's ultimately nowhere close to beating Luffy. Though, actually, like, I'm looking. Like,
I think maybe I'm nitpicking, but I feel like a bit of a misstep when this fight happens is you kind of get the cutaway gags to, like, Chopper freaking out about, like, Usopp. Hit Usopp's lies.
That's
and
right.
Chopper, which, like, maybe there's more to it than just being comedic relief. But, like, it feels like that's a kind of, like, tonal whiplash I don't really care for.
That's kind of fair.
Like, you can use the kind of tonal whiplash to good effect, but, I don't know, this feels like a really serious scene.
Yeah, like, having that in between, like, that big spread that you mentioned and then the actual fight, like, yeah, it's a little... I understand. I don't even think I noticed it. Like, I actually totally forgot about that until you mentioned it, so... But, yeah, that's fair.
I mean, yeah, and it is a really tiny thing. Like, it's just right at the beginning of the fight. It's like 2 panels it's in, and I think that's it. But no, yeah, Usopp does a lot of clever things, because he's got, like, the dials that, he got from Skypiea, so he has ways to, fight Luffy without getting totally wrecked. And that makes it even worse, because, like, it can't just be one punch and it's over. Like, this thing goes on for a while, and that just, it really twists the knife as Oda stabs you in the back.
I mean, from Luffy's side, it is like one punch and it's over, because like once he gets a good hit on Usopp, who's already wounded from getting the shit beaten out of him by the Frankie family like twice, like, so, I just noticed that when he, after Luffy punches him and he falls down, he's got his butt in the air just like he did when he fell down when fighting Kuro. Like, when Luffy praised him, because he was like, yeah, Usopp, even, because he was like, don't laugh at Usopp, because he was, like, trying to speak big while in that pose, and, no, I didn't think about, he does fall down, like, right after that, but, like, damn it, Oda, you can't do this to me.
Taking a funny thing and making it sad. How could you? I thought you were going to talk about the little panel where Usopp does the big, like, bomb explosion thing, and there's, like, a splash of water or something like goes up on Mary, and it's like the shot of the panel of Mary crying as the two are fighting.
Damn it. Oh, it's good. Gotta love that emotional manipulation. And it's also like because the fight ends and because Luffy is a very external character, I suppose. Like, the author has said that he doesn't give Luffy internal monologues. So there's a bit where Zoro's talking about Luffy, like, don't doubt yourself, you know, like, because, like, you know, that's what Luffy's feeling, but he has to externalize it through another character because Luffy's not going to inner monologue about it. But he's also not going to talk about it because it's fucking rough. So, because, yeah, like, Luffy beat Usopp, but, you know, obviously, like, he's clearly wondering, like, should he have thrown the fight? And he kind of does because he just gives Usopp the Mary. But, like, because what are they going to do with it? They're just going to get rid of it. So it's like they were kind of fighting for more, yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. They're fighting for their you know, their individual pride and their ideas, but...
You even get the little kind of cutaway where it's, where Chopper goes to, like, tend to Usopp's wounds, and Sanji stops him, and he says, you know, the last thing he wants is your pity. Think about how that would make him feel, but Chopper still goes anyway because he's Chopper, and Chopper cares about Usopp.
Usopp's a friend, and he doesn't want to...
I also don't know...
Oh, and then right after that... Or, what's up?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's not anything significant in the artwork, but like when I saw the panel where it's like the three, like it's Usopp broken and Chopper's crying, and then there's Luffy there crying with the hat over his eyes. It kind of reminded me, I don't know, like that art looked familiar. Like I don't know if it's a callback to like chapter 1 when what's his name?
Shanks put the hat.
But like I can't think of any like significance out of that. I think it's just
maybe you've just seen it before, just because it's a notable moment and you didn't recognize that.
That could very well be it too.
Yeah,
because like this is a moment that I actually forgot happened, but I knew ahead of time that this happened. Like there was a
okay. So you'd probably heard Luffy versus Usopp, and you were like, oh, I wonder what that is. And then now you're here, and it's like, oh, that's what it is. So okay,
I'd probably even seen like little art of it or whatever. Like I don't know if I saw the anime in a video or something, but yeah, I knew that this happened, but I don't remember when exactly I found out about it because I had enough time to forget that it happened at this point in the story or that it happened at all. But
yeah, which is good because then you got to experience it fresh, pretty much, and now it's one of your favorite moments in the manga, both of them. So yeah,
I also knew that this thing with the Merry Go was going to be happening, but I don't. It didn't because now now that this fight has happened, I think that maybe like I don't fully know the spoiler like of what the situation ends up being with Mary, so like I can say there's more to it. I might know, but my memory might be wrong. There's definitely so I can't really say that I know where this goes.
Yeah, there's still 2 parts to the saga left, so we'll see what happens to the Mary. But because right now it's owned by Usopp, but Usopp's no longer a Straw Hat Pirate. I want to point out something, because this is something that has kind of been ignored for a long time. I forget if I mentioned this before. So, chapter 6 of the manga is called, in the English one, it's called number 1, but it should be called the first person. Then there's a chapter later from Sanji called the fourth person, in Baradier when he leaves the ship. Then there's one in Arlong called the second person when Nami joins the crew. The third person, Usopp, is missing. That chapter hasn't happened yet, because Usopp has not truly joined the Straw Hats. He just left the crew. So, basically, Oda has done these chapters where a character joins permanently, they get that chapter. Usopp, he was definitely planning for Usopp to leave the crew. Though, I do think that this idea has been dropped. Or what's up?
I was going to say, do you have your numbers wrong? Because, what about Zoro? Wouldn't Zoro technically be the second?
Zoro's the first. Luffy is the captain. Zoro's the first person who joins Luffy.
The crew. Okay, my bad.
Nami is the second person to join Luffy, but she didn't get that chapter till after the fourth person, Sanji. Usopp's the third person, but he does get his chapter, but he hasn't gotten it yet. Spoilers, I guess. But I will say that Oda has dropped this idea because we have not seen chapters for Chopper and Robin. So if they were supposed to leave the crew at one point, he might have dropped that idea, or maybe they will leave the crew eventually and still get the chapters. So it's kind of hard to imagine. And then there's other characters like we have gotten some of these chapters again, but like some of these chapters, I'm just saying like it's a so it's a thing that I knew about a while ago. And I thought it was interesting because we do see more. Well, now I'll be able to point them out, but I wanted to specify this one because it's interesting because like Usopp never got his chapter, and it wasn't a mistake. Like he's been planning this shit for fucking over 250 chapters. Maybe not planning it like to this level of detail, but he was planning for at least this base idea of Usopp leaving the crew at one point because he was too weak. So, and at least I assume just based on the numbered chapters. So yeah, that's an idea. I get to talk about finally, because otherwise it would be a spoiler. Like, oh yeah, Usopp didn't get his numbered chapter. That's weird. I'm just going to say that randomly and then ignore it for another 250. But yeah, you could double check and find the chapters yourself, and it's cool. Just cool detail. So anyway, moving on from the fight, like right after we get these shots of these panels of the inside of the Mary empty because everyone took their stuff, and Usopp's just like, he's just lying on the deck of the ship he has, and he's just like, he's dead. Like, he's sad, and it's just like, ugh. Like, well, because it's like, that's the thing. It's like a hollow, because the fight was over, like, basically, you know, an argument that really shouldn't have happened. It's, you know, it's like for Luffy it was a hollow victory, and for Usopp it was a hollow loss. Like, that it kind of almost doesn't matter in a way. Like, that they split up, and it sucks, and it's rough. Just because of their pride. Ugh. But it's good stuff. Then there's also some news getting spread around that apparently Iceberg, the mayor, was shot in his home, which turns out to supposedly have been the Straw Hat Pirates. Am I skipping ahead? Or, no, it's basically a lot of, like, build up to that, but I don't have much to say on that, so, Frankie comes back, and he sees his house, the Frankie house, got destroyed, and he's pissed. Did you have anything to say on this post-Usopp Luffy build up to the next stuff?
No, not until it actually kind of gets to the stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, yeah, because a lot of characters start showing up. You've got the announcement that Aqua Laguna is on its way.
Yes, Sanji and... well, I love how Sanji and Chopper find out about it, and then they run to Usopp and yell about it randomly so Usopp will hear. Like, they're so good. But yeah, so yeah, they let Usopp know about Aqua Laguna. Well, that's a little later. Then while Luffy and Nami are about in a town, they get attacked by the Frankie in his full glory, with his Speedo, and fucking just put on some clothes, dude. Like, I get that you live in a city water, but come on. So yeah, and Iceberg wakes up. Nico Robin was the one who attacked him. And so what did you have to say about the fight between Luffy, Frankie, and the Galila shipwrights? Because it was kind of a three-way. It doesn't really end. Did you have any thoughts? Or, like, Frankie being a fucking cyborg?
Yeah, I kind of liked how they were all... Like, he breathes fire, and they're wondering, okay, what's his devil fruit? Is that his devil fruit? Well, he just jumped in water, so he's gonna drown. Oh, wait, no, he's not drowning, because he's not a devil fruit user, because he's a cyborg.
Yep. And of course, like, Oda has to make it one piece, because his like, he goes, after the fight, he goes to the bar to refuel on, I think, a cola. He's a cola-powered cyborg. It's so dumb. I love it. And of course, the shipwrights are mad about the iceberg thing, and so they try to attack the Straw Hats. Did you have anything else to say? Or... Because I don't think there's much left to talk about for this stretch.
Yeah, because the fight happens, and you've got the mystery of who attacked the mayor. Or, no, well, not the mystery of who did it, but, like...
Well, because it's like, they think... Yeah, go on.
Yeah, because what is it? What do they call it? The Galila, they think it's the Straw Hats, and... Luffy's like, no, it's not. You don't know Robin.
Like,
don't
yeah,
spread
it's like
lies.
he doesn't even try to say like, oh, Robin, like, you know, like she, yeah, he's like, because he you know, he thinks he knows her, so he's gonna say he didn't do that, she didn't do that. But then she runs into Sanji and Chopper and says that she did. So that's something. And yeah, Frankie blows up the shipyard with his wind air pressure attacks. Oh yeah, Luffy fucking breaks into the mayor's office to talk to the mayor about Robin, and he says that he wants to see her one more time, but Luffy, he can't help him, so Frankie goes to the bar, he runs into Kokoro, he gets refueled, Robin's talking to some mysterious dudes. Okay, yeah, so, she's working with CP9, apparently, who are, this is a mission for justice, so whatever that is, justice, and I guess that would imply the world government or the Marines or something. So, but that's kind of weird that she's a pirate. And yeah, ultimately she runs into Sanji and Chopper. She tells them that yes, she attacked Iceberg, and she's, you know, thanks for the kindness you showed me, but she's, you know, never going to meet them again. And Sanji tells Chopper to go find the others while he's going off on his own, and then this stretch of chapters ends with Zoro asking, is Robin a friend or an enemy? So lots of cliffhangers, lots of stuff to get resolved. Any final thoughts on the opening to Water 7?
Yeah, the Davy back part didn't really grab me, as I said, but this stuff the stuff that came afterwards is really good. The stuff with Aokiji and the Usopp Luffy situation, the stuff with the Mary Go, very good. I'm excited to see where the rest of this goes, because it's off to a really, really strong start.
Yep, and because I definitely like this. Like, I like the Luffy Usopp stuff. Davy backfight is always really fun to read. And there's still more of the arc to go. Next time we're reading chapters 341 to 399. That'll be part 2 of this this saga. I'm calling it Enies. Okay, here's the thing that I'm doing, because with the naming scheme of the episodes, it's like I don't want to use the same one twice. So it's like for Skypiea, I call it was Skypiea 1 and 2. The first one was Jaya and Angel Beach, and the second one was Upper Yard, even though it took place on Skypiea. So it's like, for this one, I guess you'll see what it's called, but it's like I should call it Water 7, but I'm planning on naming this episode Water 7, because I can't call it, it's Davy backfight in Water 7. But I'm not sure what else to call it. But like with Enies Lobby, there is another name I could use, because of where the arc takes place exactly. So it's like, it's just me being like not wanting to repeat myself pretty much, because like Water 7, 1 of 3, Davy backfight in Water 7. Like, oh, we're done with it's just me being weird. So don't whine about it in the comments, or do, but I won't listen to you. So yeah. Good stuff. We're not even halfway done with One Piece, by the way. We still have 11 episodes
we're like
to
we're about maybe a third through where it is now, right? 300. It's up to like 900.
Yep. I mean, we have some going by episode count wise. This is episode 8. Yeah, this is episode 8, and we have 11 to go. So when we finish this saga, we will be more than halfway done episode wise with One Piece. But not chapter wise, because thus far we had like 2 shorter episodes. Even this one is maybe it's just normal length. Because we had the Jaya episode and then the Whiskey Peak Logtown episode. So those were shorter. So this discussion did end up being a bit shorter, but that's fine, because I don't want to do a fucking 4-hour discussion if I can avoid it. If you're gonna complain about it, then you fucking edit 4 hours of discussion. So yeah, thank you for listening, and we will catch you again next time.